Let's talk about gold today and a few other things. Gold and money. You know, I tried to figure out whether the Federal Reserve believed gold was money, but you know, I got the answer that they say, heck no. Yellen explained it to me. No, it was Bernanke. He said, no, that's not money. So we have to stretch it now because we're going to be talking about money and gold. We happen to think just maybe that gold has a lot to do with money, regardless of what the big guys want to call it and how they want to use it and how they want to maintain it. But there's been a lot going on this past week. Gold has been very, very active. And I was fascinated with some news that came out that day because I always want to look at the news and how it's going to affect the stock market and the bond market and the gold market. But the news that caught my attention was the report on the CPI. And they said it had dropped and it was down lower than they expected. Well, from their viewpoint, when they say that's good news, you know, and that means there's not quite as much inflation, but there's still problems. But so the first reaction I had, well, I guess gold will go back up again. They're going to react to this. It will go down again because people would say, well, the prices aren't going up as fast, so they're winning the battle against inflation. But exactly the opposite happened because the interpretation was a little more sophisticated than that by the people with a lot of money. They said, oh yeah, but what's going to happen to interest rate? They feel like if there's any problems, they can still raise interest rates more. So the thought of that and the untrustworthiness of understanding what the Fed's going to do, and they don't tell us. And one reason why they don't tell us, they don't know themselves what they're going to do. I think they change their mind hourly or weekly. But anyway, it's a guessing game, and that's all the Keynesians do is they do a lot of guessing about the economy, interest rates, gold prices, the whole work. This is one of the reasons why from this chaos that I have, partnered with Birch Gold Group, because that's what they talk about in a realm of investments. And what they have offered through our program, if you text Ron at 989898, they'll send you some free material dealing with the subject of money and gold and this sort of thing. And you can do that, and they talk a whole lot about converting and moving your assets around, very sophisticated type of investment. But if you haven't gotten that yet, I advise you that it might be very much worth your while to text Ron at 989898 and get this free material, because I think real sincerely that it could be very helpful to you. And believe me, this chaos I was introducing the program with, it's not going to go away. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about, maybe the gold standard's coming up next week. The BRICS are meeting. Maybe the BRICS are coming. And so we have to be ready. I'm not quite as excited about that as some people are, believing we're on the verge of it. One thing for sure is the attitude and the language has changed. Central banks are buying gold, people are buying gold, and people are negative on the dollar. But the hurdle between going away from a reserve currency like the dollar, who's kingpin in many ways, in spite of the many shortcomings of the dollar and our policies, there's a long way to go from taking that and ushering in a new reserve currency that would replace that. But that's what they're struggling about, and that's why there's a meeting coming up in a few weeks in August. They will be meeting, and there will be 5 countries involved in BRICS, and that is the Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So they're representative, and they have people who want to join that group. And what they have discovered, to no one's surprise, is the people that are involved in that group, they're gold producers. And you might say, well, they just want to sell their gold. But there's 2 things. Maybe they do. It may be that the dollar's going down, as it has been this last several months. The dollar definitely has been down. So this is interesting times, but very, very dangerous. We're in this transition. They've talked about a world cryptocurrency, digital currency, which is another indication that there's competition, but it hasn't been much positive conversation. Stay away from the dollar. The dollar is king. You can't touch it. Most people are saying, get prepared. And that's what we hope we can contribute to, is to get people to look at this and look at the money issue in a serious manner.
Small ebook, big impact, the wealth tree. The only 4 ways that will make you financially free forever. Download it here for free.
Yes, next month, BRICS nations will be getting together, and they let out a little teaser that they're going to be looking to form a gold-backed currency, which is incredible. Perhaps, the U.S. printing trillions and trillions of dollars and then using the dollar system as a weapon against other nations. Everybody sees this, especially what the U.S. has done with Russia. They have nuclear weapons, and they were cut off with SWIFT and all this other stuff. Other countries that don't have nuclear weapons may be thinking to themselves, they could easily do this to us. So now, does this mean that the BRICS want to destroy the dollar and the dollar goes to zero? Only they know the answer to that question. My thinking is probably not, because as Dr. Paul mentioned, everybody uses the dollar all over the world. The dollar, look what has happened over in China. That's, with use of the dollar. Sometimes it seems our own authorities, though, with the way that they print $6 trillion here and $2 trillion there, that's how you destroy the dollar. So we have to worry about our own authorities by counterfeiting it so much. These BRICS nations, they probably want an alternative to the dollar. And using gold, my guess is, they probably don't trust each other any more than they trust the United States. But gold, it facilitates trust. Instead of using yuan and the other currencies, everybody can agree on gold because nobody controls it. Nobody can counterfeit it. So, we'll see next month what happens, but this could be some much needed competition for the money printers in Washington.
Yeah, and I think the one positive thing that's happening for what we're trying to do, there's a lot more interest, a lot more people. Unfortunately, they're getting interested because things are getting so bad, and that means they're at a point where they're questioning how long is the dollar going to last, and that's what we don't know. The one thing I feel certain about, the dollar will not last indefinitely. It's been around a lot longer than it has deserved. Like right now, it's anticipated in a very short period of time, the interest on the national debt, on the federal debt, it's going to be $1 trillion. That used to be a lot of money, but at the rate it's going, it could be just the interest is going to be many, many trillions of dollars. That's why anybody with a little bit of common sense and a little bit of economic knowledge and a little bit of instincts about this, they would say, well, this can't continue. But of course, the people who really understood this, who argued against the whole system from the beginning, even from the beginning of Bretton Woods and all, they know it and it's coming. But the big thing is, we can be very certain that there are big problems coming, but we can also be very cautious and say nobody knows the day it's going to strike. It could strike any moment because the system is so fragile. The foundation of our economic and political and monetary system is very fragile, and it wouldn't take a whole lot to rock it. And this is a problem we have to face with. But that means we should study and be more intense, because more people now, if you listen to the radio and TV, there's numerous ads on the radio and TV for gold, more than I've ever remember. I don't even think there were, you can't compare it to the 70s because it was illegal for us to own gold, and there was a lot of chaos in the 70s. But no, I think a lot of people are waking up. And when people ask me, well, if everybody has this gold, what do you think? Do you think the government's going to come in and take our gold? They did it once. Roosevelt did that immediately as soon as he became president. Took the gold in, valued it to the advantage of the government. It went from $20 to $35 an ounce, and the people got stiff. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think, and that's why I love to see more people interested in it and know about it and have some gold. It's sort of like having a gun. You might understand the gun issue if you have one, but you also have to worry about them coming and getting it. I think the American people aren't in the mood voluntarily give up all their guns. I just don't think that's going to happen. And they were very complacent in the 30s. It looks like most Americans, because the purchasing power of the dollar was actually going up, and not many people had gold. They just trusted the dollar for so long. So that was not an issue. People didn't fight it. They argued with it and all. But now, the odds of them coming to take the gold, I think, slim. But I still think we have a lot to worry about. Don't say, oh, that's okay, as long as they don't take my gold or my guns, we're going to be okay. Now, the biggest deal is, and the biggest threat we have, living through COVID and all this stuff that we have, the biggest threat is their attack on our liberties. And that is why it's so important. So they might not come into your house and say, oh, I hear you have gold coins. We want them. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think the American people won't let that happen.